There are plenty of artists online who want to open commissions, whether they be beginners with little experience or longtime creators wanting to earn money off their work. But where exactly does one start? There's so much to think about and figure out that it can get a little overwhelming. How does one person cover all their bases? I've been doing commissions since I was 16 years old, and I'm currently 25 and still doing them. With almost a decade of experience, that's what I'm here for. In this video, I'll be going into detail about the process of figuring just about everything you need to know, as well as warnings, notices, and expectations when it comes to scammers, rude clients, unfortunate situations, and responsibility. We'll be going over and talking about proper organization skills, communication skills, and pricing. This is all extremely important because while this might seem like an easy way to make money, it's still first and foremost a business. You're working with money and real people on the other side of the screen, and to avoid getting yourself or anyone else in trouble, it's best to treat all of this as seriously as possible. Here is a bare bones list of the things we will be going over. Examples, organization, communication, conduct and TOS, pricing, advertising, and scams. As a general note before we look over anything, do not expect people to come flooding into your DMs when you're first starting out. It takes time and patience to not only receive commissions at first, but to build up trust with your clientele, which is why going over understanding and putting these communication and conduct skills into use is important. You're not only making art for people, but setting an example of what a good and communicative artist should be when accepting commission requests. Building up a clientele and trust with them is a slow process, but worth it for returning clients and having a good reputation within the community. I suggest you watch this video in its entirety to understand everything. It's not just prices and making art for people. I'm also going to go over safety for the artist and avoiding scams or nightmare clients. Examples. It goes without saying, but having a portfolio for potential customers to browse through is important. This is what will bring clients in and sell them on whether or not they want to buy from you. But how exactly do you go about setting this up? Well, it fully depends on what website you plan to use. Most people use some form of social media, while others create their own websites. Card, Neocities, and Straw Page being popular picks. But if you're just starting out and already have a following on social media, I suggest starting there rather than anywhere else. The most popular method is through commission sheets, which I have plenty of my old ones as examples. I'll pop them up on screen now so you understand what they basically look like. In this way, you're able to show your available services, examples, and pricing. This will be how most clients gauge on whether or not they want to or can commission you, but it's also a good way for followers to share, boost, and bring in new customers. You should have multiple examples for one service. For example, 3 full body pieces to show the variety of your full body pieces. In my opinion, you should always have 3 or more examples to show off. This can greatly show your consistency, which matters to clients a lot. Organization. Before we head into anything else art-focused, let's shift our attention to keeping up with clients and orders. Your memory alone is not a reliable checklist, and often if you have multiple clients in a queue, they're gonna want to know where they're placed. I personally use VGen for most of my commissions, but many artists out there do not because VGen requires a code for artists to sell to begin with. VGen has its own built-in queue, so artists don't forget anyone when a commission is ordered and accepted. Yet, even then, I still use Trello to provide my clients a public place to check progress and placement and order of things. Here's my Trello for example. Obviously, it's set up aesthetically how I want, but it's also organized in a way where I can keep track of owed artwork and who placed their requests and what order. There's tags so I can keep track of who has paid, whether payment is pending, whether the piece is on the sketch or line art phase, etc. I post progress pictures too for clients to see and to ease their mind on how much sooner theirs will be. Obviously, sometimes anonymous commissions are requested, and in this case I don't post work in progress pictures for that specific client. But otherwise, I always keep this up to date with my current progress. Clients can also see what time and date a picture was uploaded. I think it is fully necessary to have a public queue. There have been artists I've worked with that never did, and in a couple cases I waited a full year without progress or knowing when I'd be getting my pieces, which stressed me out. To run a good business, you must put yourself in the shoes of your customers, and that is why I think every artist should have a public queue, even if it isn't Trello. I've seen artists use Google Sheets and Google Forms for applications, so just as long as there is a way for clients to see their place, you will find your customers will be a lot more relieved than they would be without. Communication. Oh boy. This one I'm going to be urgently insisting on practicing because this is probably one of, if not the most important thing to do when taking on commissions. I cannot stress enough how important this is. You always communicate with your client. I don't mean in an overly friendly way or oversharing or chatting casually. I mean to tell them if something comes up and working on their commission has been delayed, or explaining why the commission is taking a long time, or having to issue a refund for any reason. You need to talk to your clients. Avoiding this is not an option. Clients require communication with the artist for any changes to their commission, to ask for refunds, to check on progress, for just about anything that pertains to their order. But if you, the artist, is tardy with communicating or avoids responding to questions, you're failing to earn the client's trust. An artist and their clientele is built upon trust and communication, and that requires the artist to communicate. If, for example, they've been hospitalized or if an emergency comes up. I hear way too many horror stories of artists failing to deliver to their clients, or how many artists have left the internet with a queue filled with 200 incomplete orders, or failing to provide works in progress and giving a piece the client was not pleased with. I cannot express how angry it makes me on those clients' behalf. Those people are the reason consumers struggle to trust artists anymore when commissioning them. As an artist who has been doing commissions for years, I loathe these types of artists, and I do not condone their behavior. Those are not professional business owners. Those are scammers looking for a quick buck. I don't blame any client for being hesitant when working with new artists after having an experience like that. That's why being the best communicator you can be is essential. I, more often than not, am the person reaching out to my clients first to let them know if something comes up. I even communicate when I plan to start their commission or whether they're up next after the current piece is finished. Don't wait for the clients to say anything. Be the first one to speak up. This also shows attentiveness and can ease the customer's mind about preventing any issues communication-wise in the future. Conduct in terms of service. Similarly to the previous point, conduct and the way you act is so important. It's pretty self-explanatory to not treat your clients like trash, but it's a good thing to remember and put into practice if your client starts exhibiting aggressive or angry behavior. It's always good to hear them out if there is a complaint and to be able to take that and to grow as an artist. Remember, you're not getting free money, you're running a business, and professionalism is priority out of everything else. Put your personal gripes aside to deliver on what you were paid for. I have a few notes here about a few different things that may be useful to you, and I highly suggest you abide by all of these. Be a frequent communicator. Obviously, I already went over why this is so important, but I want to reiterate that you should not slack on giving updates on a client's commission. Be transparent and straightforward if something comes up that may delay the delivery. Clients want to be in on what's happening. They do not have it out for you. They're not wishing for any negative effects on you. They just want to be in the know, so please do not leave them in the dark. Be honest. Be patient and open to their ideas, opinions, and requests. Obviously, this may not apply to every commission service depending on what you're offering and what you're okay and not okay drawing. But if a client wants you to change something before it's finished, do it. You're the artist and you're bringing this person's idea to life. It may not matter if you think something looks better one way. If the client wants something different, apply it. It's a paid service and it's important to remember that. Obviously, don't do anything that breaks your TOS or personal boundaries. I'm specifically talking about strict requests that pertain to their vision. Do not be quick to befriend clients. As friendly as they could be, it's important to remember a relationship should not be built upon a transaction. You can and should be friendly and welcoming to your clientele, but not to the point of being their bestie. Keep it professional and keep it work-related. This could heavily affect your professional business if something were to go haywire within that relationship. If something arises between you and your client, it may affect any present transactions occurring or delivery of goods. It is still your responsibility as the artist to deliver, even if you have bad blood with the person. Overall, it's a nasty and awkward situation I personally have found myself in, and to avoid having to do that, I suggest keeping a safe distance emotionally from clientele. Have a terms of service for the client to read over and accept. This is non-negotiable, and I have plenty of reasons as to why you need to write one yourself. First off, a terms of service will allow the client to see what you will and will not draw. In my TOS, I have my do's and don'ts, which are useful for customers to see what you're capable and willing to draw versus what you are not. For example, I can't and do not enjoy drawing machinery in any way. I have this listed in my don'ts to let clients know of that boundary, but I am very open and willing to draw monsters and body horror. This allows clients who enjoy a certain genre of work to know when you are and aren't a good candidate to bring their vision to life. Secondly, in case of scams or chargebacks, it's important to have a TOS to provide to your payment system if something scary like that does arise. In my experience, I've never had this happen, but I've heard plenty of artists experiencing this kind of horror happen to them, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Additionally, I highly suggest having a refund policy. Having a no refund policy scares people away, and I'll go into more detail about that in the next part. Do not have a no refunds in your terms of service. It's not professional, and it does not comfort any customers that read it over. As much as I'm sure you'd like to keep that money, you have to understand that if an emergency comes up with a client too, they may ask for a refund due to a family health crisis, or it may have been spent in a manic episode, which has happened to me before multiple times. Honestly, they also don't have to explain why they want a refund. If you haven't started the piece, you give the money back. They're human too, and as a professional, you have to have empathy for that. I will note that I only give full refunds on art that hasn't been started yet. I give partial refunds to art I've already started and made significant progress to, and that is the only exception to this rule. It also depends on how far I am into the piece on how much they get back. For example, if I've only done the sketch, I give them 80% in return of what they originally gave me, as well as the sketch I drew out. Never give partial refunds without showing the work you've completed. Do not spend the money you've been sent until the commission is finished. Tied into the last point, if a refund is asked of you, you need to be able to provide that back. I understand sometimes emergencies come up, and that money has to be spent, like for bills, rent, or medical expenses, but otherwise do not touch it. Of course, even in the case of an emergency, you somehow still need to make that money back to refund them if something does come up. I've had to rely on my wife's paycheck before to refund someone because I had to spend it for rent. I've been in that situation before, but I'm lucky enough to have a partner who was able to help me with that and take their place in the queue to accommodate. But not everyone is as lucky as I am, so please be cautious and responsible with the money you're earning. Give yourself limited slots. This step is extremely important for your own mental state. If you're a slow artist, if you're just starting out, or if you get easily overwhelmed, slots will allow you to set a limit for yourself. This prevents you from taking on more than you can chew and burning out or getting stressed out from drawing for others. I know for me personally, I like to set my slots to about 5 or 6, and I refuse to take on any more until those are finished. If you're just beginning, I would start out with 3, and if you feel as you work more, you can take on more, absolutely do so. But do not break the rule of taking on more before any of them are finished. This will also prevent anyone from raising an eyebrow at seeing incomplete commissions on your queue. Pricing. In terms of figuring out how to price your work, that is completely up to you and your local wages. Artists and their wages vary from country to country, but use your best judgment to figure and adjust as needed. Think about how long a piece takes you. How many hours do you spend working on a piece? How detailed or ornate is it? Consider these options because they're how I started out. So obviously commissions are to earn money, but the frustrating part about first starting out with commissions is that they tend to do better and gain more traction when they're cheap. This isn't me saying that you should undersell your labor or your skill, but if you're a small artist with a small following and you've never done this kind of work prior, having smaller prices and smaller services would benefit in building up that clientele and good reputation among buyers. The strategy here is that the more your clientele grows and your work becomes more high in demand, you raise your prices. Not by any huge margin, but adding a few more bucks to the price over time. For example, when I first started taking on commissions, I had my full body illustrations priced at $28. Nowadays, they go about $90 or more. I've been drawing for a long time and taking on commissions too. It's a slow, gradual thing for most artists, though if your art becomes high in demand, pricing high would allow you some breathing room too from being swarmed with applications. I know that there is definitely some worry among the crowd of losing clients by raising your prices, and I get it. I had a lot of clients that I no longer work with due to them being unable to purchase my art or complained about my prices becoming more expensive. But something that you and most clientele understand, art is a luxury, not a necessity. No one needs to buy art. In my experience, the best clients I have ever had have been in the later years of my business. They're kinder, more understanding, more patient, and return for more when they're able. If a client is going to complain about your prices being higher, don't drop the price just because someone is going to be unhappy with you. Most people who'll complain are people who just want to take advantage of you, underpricing yourself, and those clients are best left behind. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. It can even cause some anxiety, but as someone who's been in this field a long time and have an anxiety disorder, it's okay. You'll make it through and you'll keep on growing while they're pouting and kicking dirt. Your growth is encouraged by people who support your art, not tearing you down. The best clients are the ones who understand if they can't purchase from you anymore and decide to stick around anyway to see your work. Advertising. This is where social media comes into play. It can be overwhelming, so if you're just starting out, I would stick to 1 or 2 places to post your art, or if you really think you can handle managing multiple accounts, go for it. Advertising can be a bit tricky because if you haven't taken on any commissions yet, how do you grab the attention of people? What can you do that will catch their eye? 2 of the most popular suggestions I've heard over the years have been drawing fan art or drawing furries, both of which are very effective, but what if that's just not your thing? The next best thing is standing out with a niche or common theme in your art. Here's one of my favorite artists who tends to have a unique feeling to their artwork and subject matter. Laputin is one of my favorite artists when I first discovered their work. What caught my eye was the reoccurring visuals of wolves, a vicious creature, alongside women drawn in the most delicate and soft ways. A lot of the storytelling in these pieces are haunting. I often like when their art depicts the role reversal of the subjects. I bring this artist up simply as an example. There are reoccurring elements and the style is consistent with the themes. Of course, building an audience still takes time, so it really does just take having patience and finding your niche that will bring in potential clients. Additionally, hosting raffles and giveaways or anything else of the sort can encourage interaction and engagement from the audience. These often do very well if one of the roles is to share the post, so I highly suggest these, especially at big milestones. And of course, alongside everything else, never shut up about your commissions being open. Constantly, and I mean constantly, advertise when you have slots open. If you have adoptables up for sale, if you have a waitlist waiting for applicants, yes, there will most definitely be people who think you're annoying, but again, that is okay. You're running a business, and you're trying to grab the attention of people who may have not seen it. Advertising for commissions can also be snuck into posts under fan art or other commission pieces once they're done. For example, I just finished this commission for so-and-so. If commissioning me intrigues you at all, check the pinned post for my prices, or something along those lines. Scammers. Okay, so it's inevitable. You're going to encounter scammers when you're first starting out. Hell, even I get spam DMs and comments under my posts sometimes, and I've been doing this for years. But honestly, they're not too scary, especially if you know what to look out for. Scammers tend to use a repetitive vocabulary. I have examples recently from my TikTok, so I'll post them on screen now. Very common, very blunt, and very empty feeling. Additionally, if you cannot tell if someone is a scammer and you get to the payment part, absolutely do not fall for any bullcrap they throw your way about being unable to pay. Most of the time, they'll ask to pay via a gift card or cryptocurrency, or ask you to send your PayPal username. Absolutely do not fall for any of these things. When it comes to PayPal, I highly suggest you use the invoices on the site. If the person on the other end is a real client, there will be no hesitation or arguing on providing their username or email for the invoice. If they argue, claim it's not working and they need yours, end it there. Once you see a bunch of these, you've seen them all, and I highly suggest ignoring them. Conclusion. That was the final part of this whole thing, and I'm so 100% sure I glossed over or missed some things. I'm forgetful. There's a lot to keep in mind and remember when it comes to this business thing. So if you have any questions, comments, or have your own advice to share, please do so in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful at all, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more art-related content like this, please subscribe. I'm still trying to warm up to making videos, so I can't say how often they'll be, but I know I'll definitely be posting again. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your ventures. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!